I never imagined that speaking one single sentence at my own dinner table would completely destroy my marriage in the most humiliating way imaginable. My wife slapped me hard across the face, right in front of her entire family. The loud smack echoed through my dining room. Everyone froze, and that moment changed everything forever. My name is Daniel. I'm a contractor. I had been married to Michelle for 7 years. That night we were all sitting around the table, me, Michelle, her parents, her 2 brothers, and her sister. They had been living rent-free in my house for 5 full years. Her mother was doing what she always did, criticizing me nonstop, saying I needed to work harder, earn more money, and provide better for everyone. I had heard it 1,000 times before and usually stayed silent, but this time I finally spoke. Maybe if I wasn't supporting 6 extra people, we would actually have more money. The whole table went completely silent. Michelle's face turned bright red. "What did you just say?" she demanded. Before I could reply, her hand flew across my face with a sharp, loud slap. Her sister gasped in shock. "Don't you dare disrespect my mother," Michelle snapped. I touched my stinging cheek, while everyone stared at me. Her dad immediately stood up and said, "You need to apologize right now." I looked slowly around the table at all the people living in my house, eating my food, using my water and electricity. Not one of them worked, not one of them contributed anything. "No," I said firmly. Michelle stood up fast. "Excuse me." I pushed my chair back and stood up slowly. "I'm done." I walked upstairs, grabbed a duffel bag, and threw in some clothes, toiletries, and my laptop. Then I came back down. Everyone was still sitting there in silence. I looked directly at Michelle. "I'll be back tomorrow." Then I walked out the front door and made one phone call that changed everything. I had met Michelle 8 years ago at a church barbecue. She seemed sweet, caring, and very family-oriented. That last part should have been a major warning sign. We got married 1 year later in a small ceremony with her whole family there. 2 years into the marriage, her dad lost his job when the construction company went under. They asked if they could stay with us just until he found something new. I said yes. I thought it would only be a few months. That was 5 years ago. Her parents moved into the guest room. Her younger brother took the basement. Her sister and other brothers stayed in the den that we had converted into a second bedroom. 5 people living in my 3-bedroom house, the house I had bought before we even got married. My name was the only one on the deed. My mortgage. Michelle stopped working. She said someone needed to stay home to help her mother with her health issues, though she never clearly explained what those issues were. So I worked long 60-hour weeks doing construction jobs and renovations to keep everything going. I would come home, exhausted every single day, to a crowded house with no privacy and no peace. Her family treated the place like a hotel. They ate my food, left messes everywhere, and complained when things weren't up to their standards. I kept quiet to keep the peace. Michelle always took their side, saying we help family. But they never helped me, never contributed anything, and never even said thank you. Now I was sitting in my truck outside a Marriott with my phone in my hand. I made the call I should have made years earlier. I called my lawyer, Steve Patterson. "Steve, it's Daniel. I need to file for divorce, tonight." Steve met me at his office at 9 p.m. He owed me a favor because I had renovated his kitchen last year at cost. I told him the full story, the slap, the disrespect, and 5 years of freeloading. He listened carefully and took notes. "The house is only in your name?" he asked. "Yes." "Bought it 2 years before we married." He explained I had a very clean separation. The house was mine, no kids, very few shared assets. He said he could file the next morning. But he warned me about the family living there. Legally, they were now tenants, so I needed to give them 30 days' notice. My jaw tightened. 30 days. Steve thought for a moment and suggested another way. Since the house was in my name only and I paid all the bills, I could shut off the utilities to make it uncomfortable. I agreed. The next morning, Steve filed the divorce petition, property division, and everything else. Michelle was served papers at the house by noon. She called me 17 times. I didn't answer. Finally, she texted that we needed to talk. I replied that there was nothing to talk about. She had made her choice when she slapped me. That afternoon, I called the utility companies and disconnected electric, gas, water, and internet effective the next day at noon. Then I called a locksmith and had all the locks changed on the house that same day. When the locksmith finished, I walked through the house one last time. I saw the mess, dishes in the sink, laundry everywhere, stuff scattered in every room. I took pictures of everything as proof. Then I left and locked the door behind me. At 6 p.m., Michelle called again. This time I answered. "What did you do?" she screamed. "The locks are changed. We can't get in." I told her it was my house and she was no longer welcome there. She started screaming that I couldn't do this and that her family had nowhere to go. I replied that she should have thought about that before she slapped me. She threatened that I would regret this. I told her I already regretted the last 5 years. Her father, brothers, and sister all started calling and texting with threats and insults. I blocked all of them except Michelle so I could keep records for the divorce. The next morning, I drove past the house and saw 3 cars parked in the driveway. They were sleeping in their vehicles. 2 days later, Michelle showed up at my job site. She looked exhausted and begged me to talk. I told her my family was staying in a motel that cost $90 a night and they couldn't afford it. I said it wasn't my problem. She cried and asked if she signed the papers would I let them back in for a month. I looked at her and said no. The house stays locked. Over the next 2 weeks, her family tried everything. Her dad came to my job site yelling and had to be escorted out. Her brother posted on Facebook calling me abusive. It got some attention locally, but my friends and crew defended me and told the real story of how I had supported them for 5 years while they did nothing. The narrative quickly turned against them. Eventually, her sister got a job at a grocery store. One brother moved back in with his ex. Her parents found a cheap apartment. Michelle finally signed the divorce papers at Steve's office. The divorce was finalized 6 weeks later. The house stayed completely mine with no alimony. Clean break. I changed every lock again, repainted the whole place, cleaned out all their belongings, sold most of it, and donated the rest. The house finally felt bigger, quieter, and peaceful. 6 months after the divorce, I ran into Michelle alone at the grocery store. She looked thinner and tired. She approached me and said her family had stopped speaking to her. They blamed her for everything and said she should have kept me happy. She finally admitted through tears that I had been right about everything. She had chosen them over me every single time, and she was truly sorry. I told her I appreciated her saying that, but it didn't change anything. As I started to walk away, she asked if I was happy now. I thought about my quiet house, peaceful mornings, and complete freedom. "Yeah," I said, "I am." I went home that night, sat on my porch, drank a beer in silence, and enjoyed the moment. My house. My peace. My life. For the first time in 7 years, everything finally felt exactly right.